Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here tonight. As with any building, as we age a little, not us personally, but our buildings, apparently this little guy in the middle doesn't work, so we're going to pay attention to these screens on the side. Welcome and thank you for coming. My name is Sarah Reif, and I get to be the Freshman Exploration Academy Counselor. That's a big, long name that means I get to work with ninth graders all of the time. Here's my information. I tell you now, and I will say it repeatedly throughout the course of your students' ninth grade adventure. You can get in touch with me at any point, okay? I welcome phone calls, drop-bys, emails, whatever works best for you. I would like to be the first to officially welcome you to your first experience here at Alexandria Area High School. I mean, I saw everything out there from hugs to, this is a huge deal. Whether or not this is your first child coming into the high school, or your second, or maybe it's your last, just take a moment, take a big deep breath, because this is pretty exciting stuff to enter here and start this journey that we all know goes way too fast, okay? So, here's what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to kind of talk to you about the high school experience in general, what students can anticipate. Then we're going to zoom in a little bit more on ninth grade specifically. Here's what I want to say to you right now. All of this is being recorded, and I've also created a really enjoyable screencast that you can watch whenever you would like. So spread the word, and I say that in all seriousness because sometimes this can be and feel very overwhelming because there is a lot of similarity with schools as they change, but there's also a lot of differences. So I want you to take a breath again and know that all of this stuff will be shared in different forms for you so you can go back, look, recheck. Students, you get to hear me do this again next week. I'm going to come to your school and visit with you and go through all this stuff again, a little bit more detail, and then we'll actually start the process of register. Okay, just online, and don't get too nervous. I'll show you all of that and how it works. But I just want to make sure that you know this is recorded because, again, sometimes people feel like I need to remember every single thing that is said and shared, and I think you do, but we also know that we're thinking about a million things all the time. Here are the things that we're going to be referencing tonight. In front of you, hopefully in your hands, if you didn't get it already, you can feel free to go back. That registration course catalog, okay? You will also notice on that course catalog, if you flip it to the front, your name is on there. Also, your meeting time. We've gotten lots of frantic calls in the last couple of days, like, I lost my letter. I didn't even know it was important. I looked at it, read the meeting, threw it away. Now I realize that had some pretty specific information detailed about my child. So if that's the case, it's still okay to call us, reach out to us, but it should be on a sticker right on the front of that one, okay? So that, as well as, I'm going to be referencing this sheet. Now this is a nice green sheet, it's two-sided, you don't have that in front of you because I'm going to hand it to your student as we get to next week, and they are going to bring it home for you. We will send a message to you via Blackboard. I know how much we all love Blackboard messages, but it will say, tonight you should see this coming home with your student so that you can expect and anticipate this and you can go through that with them. Because students, this is basically your ticket into the high school, okay? If you do forget it the night of our registration conferences, we'll fill out another one because we want to keep this material and information handy. Okay, so those are the two things I'm going to be referencing. If you ever feel so inclined and you don't have your course catalog in your hands like you do tonight, we always have it available online. If you go to our website, it's just alexschools.org, and then you look under Alexandria Area High School specifically. When you're in there, you can find it on the College and Career Center site or our tab. It's always in there. Anytime you can reference it, and basically as you go into this link, and again, it will be sent to you tonight along with this presentation, and you can go through and click through the actual book. So in case you misplace it or you're somewhere else and your student has it and you want to see something, you can always access it online. So, like I said, I'm going to start kind of big picture of the high school and then zoom in a little bit on 9th grade experience specifically. So, you can see up here, and students may be familiar, similarities. Our school day starts at 8:25 and ends at 3:05. The left-hand side of your screen shows the regular schedule. That's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. The right-hand side of your screen, and if you happen to be following along in your book, this is on page 3, shows our advisory or options schedule. Words that are pretty familiar at this point, at least the options side, to 8th graders. That's kind of where the similarities end and the differences begin. So, you'll notice on the left-hand side of that column, it says A Day. On the right-hand side, it says B Day. We here at the high school operate under a block schedule system, which means on your A Day, you rotate through class periods 1, 2, 3, and 4. On your B Day, which is the next day, you rotate through class periods 5, 6, 7, and 8. So over the course of 2 days, you rotate through 8 class periods. Now students, if you think about that, and you have 4 class periods a day, that means they're longer than the ones that you're doing right now, okay? They're roughly about 86 minutes long each. If you know any other classmate, maybe you have a friend that goes here, maybe you have an older sibling, I encourage you to ask them about what they think about the block schedule. I know as you hear it, it can sound a little bit daunting, like, I'm in class for an hour and a half, that sounds like a long time. But hands down and overwhelmingly, when I have conversations with students as they get started, they're like, I love it. Class goes so fast. I have so much time to get my work done. There's so much time to work, talk to the teacher, get done with group activities, all kinds of stuff. So you get used to it pretty quickly, and the days go by really fast. So you can see, like I said, those 86-minute, roughly long class periods. The right-hand side, advisory and options. Advisory is similar, students, to like home base, but instead of having that class every day, we have that on Wednesdays. So just Wednesdays, we operate under the schedule on the right, and on the left, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. You will also see we split. So advisory is one of the days, like I said, similar to home base, where you're going through different information, kind of looking at future plans, grade checks, things like that. Options, similar to what you're doing right now. Kind of like a guided study time, where either you can go to a classroom if you need help with something, or your teacher might say, gosh, I really need to pull you in, we need to work on this extra assignment or this. So again, every other Wednesday we operate on the right-hand side, or every Wednesday, rotating through advisory and options. On the left is that regular schedule. Now, what might your classes look like? This is a sample schedule of a 9th grade student over the course of 2 days. So again, A on your left, so English, social studies, an elective, and another elective might be on your A day, which means that on your B day, you might have science, algebra, a health or a science class, and then another elective. So this kind of gives you a visual as to what you go through as you're going through those 2 days. I will get into lunch. I'm just going to touch on it real fast. Students can seem very confused, but trust me, again, ask those older people that you know, you get used to it pretty quickly. Basically, if you have first lunch, you go through your first and second class of the day, you have lunch, then you go to your third and fourth class of the day, and you're done. If you have second lunch, you go to your first class, your second class, you start your third class, you go about halfway through, you pause, you go to lunch, and then you go back to that same room, then you go to your last block of the day and you're done. If you have third lunch, you go all the way through your first, second, and third class, get to the end of that, go to lunch, one more class left, and you're done. Okay, it'll all make sense as you get here and go through the schedule, but just something to point out as you go. So again, a copy of that sample schedule. Probably one of the biggest differences as you're moving over to the high school, and you've heard it for so many years, students and parents have been talking about this as you go through, everything that you've done up to this point has been very important, right? All the way elementary, all the way through middle school, and now here you are arriving at Alexandria Area High School. You are going to be an official high school student, which means every class that you take has a credit attached to it. So not only do you get a grade for that class, you also earn a credit for it. On page 5, this has a lot of information, and again, this is general to your whole high school experience. It's something to point out, but I don't want you to get too hung up on it because you have all 4 years as we go through to figure all this out. Basically, if you look through at the top, you look at those gray lines. So you see English, language arts. If you follow that line all the way over, it says 4 credits. What that means to you students, if you think about basically 1 credit is the equivalent of 1 school year, when you see 4, you know that you're going to take an English class, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. All 4 years, 4 credits. As you go through, you'll be taking a full year of an English course. That's a requirement each year. Then we go down and see social studies, 3.5. 0.5 means a half. Half is a half of a school year, okay? That half in social studies actually happens right away when you're in 9th grade. The requirement is 1/2 of a year or 1 semester. Each year is made up of 2 semesters. Then you see the remainder, so 3 more credits. So that's a half year when you're in 9th grade, 10th, 11th, 12th. So 3.5 years, 3.5 credits. Then we get down to math and science. You see 3 credits, the equivalent of 3 years. 9th, 10th, 11th. Buckle up. I'm going to tell you something about future plans in life after high school before you've even begun right now. But depending on your plan for life after high school, and you'll have a lot of time to think about this, the requirement in order to graduate from Alexandria Area High School is 3 credits or 3 years. You can choose to take more. Some 4-year colleges and universities have a requirement that you need to take more. It just depends on your plan, and you'll learn so much more about that as you move through. Anything that you take above and beyond the requirements, then would fall into your elective credits. Underneath that, you'll see health and phys ed, 1 credit or the equivalent of 1 year. That happens right away when you're in 9th grade, so 1 semester of health is required, 1 semester of physical education. If that's something that you greatly enjoy, there's plenty more opportunities as we move forward. If not, you have completed it in 9th grade and you can move right along. Underneath that, you'll see arts, so 1 credit, the equivalent of 1 full school year. You can fulfill that anytime, 9th grade, all the way through until your senior year. But a lot of students opt to try to take it sooner than later, just to make sure that they can check that off. Underneath that, something to note that's new. Underneath that arts line, you're going to see personal finance. New to the class of 2028 and beyond, there is a personal finance requirement. You guys don't quite have to worry about it yet at your age, but you will take that as you get to your junior or senior year. Okay, so something to note in your future. If you're looking at making your whole plan tonight, as soon as you get home, you're going to write down what you're going to take in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. I can see some of you want to do that. If so, make sure that you take into consideration you have to take a personal finance credit. Electives then make up 14 credits that remain to bring us to a grand total of 30 credits in order to graduate from Alexandria Area High School on time with your classmates. One thing to know, you did not hear me mention a language as a requirement, okay? That's not on this page. Again, mind blowing, I'm going to talk about college, life after high school. If you are a student that is interested in a 4-year college or university, oftentimes they will have a minimum of 2 years of the same world language. Completely up to you individually as a student. So if you already have an idea in mind, maybe you have a sibling that goes to UND and you're like, I know that's where I'm going to go. It's my favorite place. I can't wait to get there in 4 years after this. Go look at those requirements, talk to people. You do not have to take them. Again, it's not a requirement. It's something to think about and look forward to if you want to get that into your schedule sooner than later. Okay? So we here at the high school are under the academy model. I mentioned at the beginning, we're the Freshman Exploration Academy, okay? The biggest word in there, and the best part about this academy, you guys, you don't have to make any decision. You all walk in these doors, you are a member of the Freshman Exploration Academy, which is lovely and delightful, and we have a great time. So the biggest word that you can take out of that is the exploration piece. We really want students to explore things that they're interested in, areas that they're curious about, trying to find their passion, trying to find things that they'd like to do a little bit more as they think, not only in high school life, but then life beyond high school and what that might look like. Of course, we fulfill their core requirements. We will fill their schedules up, and we'll talk through that in a second. We do a lot of different activities to introduce careers, different ideas, different pathways that students can have. And again, the biggest difference is that we really emphasize now credits are counting. It's been very important up to this point, but everybody has to maintain a certain credit and overall credit count in order to graduate on time with their class. So we do a lot of talking about those requirements in advisory throughout classes, throughout students' day. Because then, as they get to around this time next year, because right now, you're still at the middle school, you're still in that level, now you're gonna be, next year, at this point, you're gonna start thinking about which academy you would like to select. So beyond our freshman level academy, we have 3 further academies that you get to choose from. You might be wondering, well, what exactly is an academy? What does that mean to me? If I'm in the freshman academy, everybody will, again, choose one of these, and basically it's a smaller learning community. You are selecting and participating with a smaller group of students in the area that you get to select, okay? Let me say you can take classes across all academies no matter what, so that's really important to emphasize right away. Regardless of which one you pick, you can take electives in all. It just guides a little bit more of your decision. So the 3 academies beyond Freshman Academy that we have, and you can notice them on your pages as you go through the book, because what's fun on those pages is, so for example, Business Communications Entrepreneurship, page 17, BCE. It walks you through, students, if you have an interest in a career, you can look on that page, that's an introductory page, and it might tell you, hey, if you're interested in this career, if you look at the bottom, it shows you different elective opportunities that might be a good fit for you to take, to try, as you're moving through that to get a feel for if you're interested or not, okay? So BCE, that one includes the arts, that's on page 17. EMT&R, or engineering, manufacturing technologies, and natural resources, that one's on page 25, it starts. And then health sciences, human services, on page 31. So as you go through, and beyond that is the course descriptions for every single class that I will talk about. Students, this is really important to you too. If I stood up here and read this book, you would all be very, very bored, I assure you. So it is up to you to go through and read these course descriptions as you get them, what's available to freshmen, what is an area of interest of mine, or what would I like to explore, and we really encourage students to try to take electives across all of these academies as a freshman, so that they can get a feel for what it might be like if they do go into that academy, what might I like to explore a little bit more, okay? So as you're looking through, that's a lot of information. These pages have the most information in the entire book. So on pages 10 and 11, list every single course offered here at Alexandria Area High School. There is a lot of information on these pages. Something to note, on the top left-hand corner, you'll see that symbol key. Anytime you see a red circle with a star inside next to a class listing, that means that class would fulfill that art level designation that I talked about, and I'll show you again on our registration form. Anytime you see a little tiny star or an asterisk, that means there's a prerequisite to that class, which is just a fancy way of saying you have to take another class before you take that. And then if you see an exclamation point, that means that there is a signature required for that. That means that before you get into that class, you have to have the current teacher of the class you're in say, yep, I think you're a great candidate. I'm going to sign off so you can take that class. So you see 4 columns in your book. On the far left-hand side of each column gives you the course number. In the center, that's the class title. To the right shows you the amount of credit for each class. And then to the far right of that shows which grade levels those classes are open to. So you'll see some 9s, a few more 10s, lots of 11s and 12s. Because as we know, as you go through the years, you have more and more choice as you get into those upper classes years, okay? Again, I'm saying it again, believe it or not, I'm already talking, this is how many times, I think the 3rd, maybe 4th, talking about college credit opportunities, but truly on pages 8 and 9, now, they might not necessarily pertain to students, okay? You might not be ready yet to take a college level course. However, on page 8 on the far left, you might want to take a look at those eligibility requirements. If you are a student who has interest in the future of taking and pushing yourself to try some of those courses, you have to be mindful already as you start in 9th grade to think about how do I get there, because everything that you do counts. Every grade that you earn is starting to move in the direction of your overall transcript and your overall GPA, okay? So there's a lot of considerations we take into account as you move into those college level courses. So again, although you might not be able to take them next year, you have to start thinking, having that mindset of what it might look like if it is an area of interest for you. So, a little bit more about our registration process. Honestly, we're here tonight. We're distributing materials to you. As I said, after our Thursday's presentation, I will send out this information. I will send out this full slideshow so you can look, and I will send out the video and the screencast of going through all of this, okay? Next week, students, I'll be at the middle school. I will be at, and if you are here from Zion, I think it was wrong on the letter, but I'll be at Discovery Middle School only on Tuesday. I think I'll be at Zion on Wednesday, talking through all of this, and again, going through some of those specific details, and also helping you understand how to go online. Because as with everything, as you're growing up, you have a little bit more accountability and a little bit more responsibility in this process. So I get to start helping with what that looks like for you, okay? Conferences then, when you come here, those are pre-scheduled, and that's what I said is on that sticker on the front of your book and on your letter that you all received. That's why you're here tonight. In the middle, that red section, it's on the front of your book, but it's also on that letter. You can find the night, so it's either February 26th or March 2nd. You will see that you have been identified to come at that time, and this is what you will need to bring with you, okay? And I'm just going to go over this. Now, these are the requirements. Again, this is one way we have written it, but here is a little bit more. And I'm going to send this home with students as I go over there and see them on Tuesday, and then you will have this in your hands, okay? So, as you're looking at this, the top row, and this just goes back to all the stuff I talked about from page 5 on the front, okay, in that book. The top row, you can see those required classes. Every student is going to take a level of an English. Every student's going to take a level of a math. Every student's going to take a level of a social studies, a science, and a health and physics. Those are the requirements that you have to take as a freshman, okay? We even went so far, ninth graders, as to check English, to check phys and to check health. Those are already done for you. You don't even have to take that action step. There, you already did part of your homework. Next, you'll see that we have algebra out there. The majority of the students are going to move into intermediate algebra. Only exception is, if you're currently taking an honors high school course level algebra, then your student will receive a sticker from their current teacher that says they're moving into honors geometry. In the middle, you can see social studies. Remember I talked about that. I said 3.5 and that 0.5. If you notice to the left of every course, there's either 1 dash or there's 2. If there's 1, that stands for 1 semester. If there's 2, that stands for 2 semesters or the full year. So social studies only has 1, And if you recall, I said 3.5, that 0.5 happens right away your 9th grade year. So you'll see the requirement is that 1 semester. You can choose, if you're interested, 4th time, 5th time, 4th time, I'm going to mention college. If you're interested in pushing yourself, in trying something that's especially rigorous, there's a few different ways that you can earn college credit when you're here. We'll get into all of that as you move forward. But the first opportunity does happen for you right away next year because, and it's right on a crease, so I don't know if you can see it. When you get it home, you'll see it says AP Human Geography or Advanced Placement Human Geography. That's a higher level course. It is also a year-long commitment. The requirement is half or 1 semester. If you choose to do AP, it is a full year commitment for both semesters, okay? This, I encourage all of you to have a conversation with your current social studies teacher. That's what that exclamation mark means, and that will follow along with the symbol key in the book. You'll have to get a signature from your current social studies teacher that says, yeah, I think you'd be a great candidate. Because going back to those eligibility requirements for college, we actually do have to go back and look. We have to look at MCA scores, reading scores, because this class is really advanced and it goes really fast and the pace is really high. So if this sounds interesting to you, fantastic. Talk to your social studies teacher, talk at home, see if this fits in with what you would like to do, and then get that signature. As well as science, so you can see we have integrated science or honors integrated science. Again, super rigorous course. If that's an area of interest for you, fantastic. Talk to your family at home, talk to your teacher at school, get that signature. If there are no signatures on those sheets the night that you come in for registration, advisors have been instructed to sign students up for the regular class until they see that signature. And that's really kind of a safeguard for students because we have in the past have had students take these courses that were not prepared, and boy do they know pretty quickly. Like, I don't know that this was maybe the best choice for me. So that's why we put that. It's very important to have those conversations. Make sure that you're picking what is right for you. And also I encourage you students, sometimes students are like, I'm just gonna try all the hard stuff. I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna take that hardest class. I'm gonna take AP. I'm gonna take honor science. And I'm like, hey, wait, remember, this is your first year at the high school. You're in a brand new building. You're on a brand new schedule. You're trying to figure everything else out. So maybe just do what you think is the best for you. You don't have to pick them all. You have 4 years here. You've got plenty of time. You can, challenge yourself, but make sure that it's still within reason. You're taking yourself into consideration. So that's all the required courses. Underneath, you see all of those elective options. We have it broken down by academy. Again, I encourage you, I can't force this. I tell students every year, and then without fail, they come up and some of them have all of them checked into one academy. I'm like, could you just try one in another one? And it's okay if you don't, but we also encourage that you do. So on the far left at the bottom, we have BCE or Business Communication Entrepreneurship. That was actually split further into like that more of the art and design pathway, and then the more business side of the pathway. Right in the middle, we have EMT&R. We have Health Sciences, Human Services, that HSHS. And on the far right on the bottom, we have global electives. So those are universal, they would fit within and among all of the academies. So we follow the same symbol key that we do within that course, the course listings page on 10 and 11. Anytime you see that circle with a star, that means that class would fulfill an art requirement. Anytime that you see that tiny little asterisk, students, that tiny little star, that means there's a class that you have to take prior. Where can you find that information? Right within the course catalog. And you don't have to worry about when you sign up for it. For example, I'm just going to look at that far left column on the bottom, Advanced Digital Arts. You have to take digital art before you can take the advanced class. Once you put both of those in there, you don't have to worry about telling us, like, I signed up for both. Put them both on there. We take care of it on our end and make sure within our system that we have both of those, but you do have to sign up for them. So basically, on the bottom here, you're gonna write numbers 1 through 7 on all of those lines. If you see 2 lines requires 2 numbers, okay? So, All of the ones on the left and the bottom, most of them individual. So those will be one semester, one number. If you look on the right-hand side, underneath body fitness, that's a strength training. We like to point out that that is a strength training class. Sometimes students are perplexed that they have to lift weights when they get in there. So I'm pointing that out specifically for you all. Underneath, you see music, 2 lines, that equates to 1 full school year commitment. Underneath that, you're going to see world language, 2 lines, 2 numbers, 1 full year of a commitment. Again, I'll go back to, you'll remember, a language is not a requirement in order to graduate from our high school, but a lot of students opt to take that their freshman and sophomore year to make sure that they have taken care of that if they're interested in a next level after high school and they want to make sure that they have their language completed. Okay? So that is the front of this. And again, students, I'm sending this home with you. You're going to see this next week. This is the back page. This walks through on the top. So basically, on the front, we have numbers 1 through 7. I neglected to mention, but I want to say if you do choose to take that AP Human Geography, that just takes 1 of the elective options away. Because basically, if you're taking that for the full year, then you have 1 up on top, so then you do 6 on the bottom. Essentially, on the back, we have alternates. I will tell you, students, I do this scheduling what feels like all summer long. I'm looking at schedules, I'm figuring out how to make all this stuff work, excuse me, and so often I have to go to the alternates. So these are almost just as important as your numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. These are 8, 9, 10, and 11, if you think about it that way, okay? They have to be different classes than what you signed up for on the front. You can put in there if you want a language, that would just take 2 lines then, but that shows you on the back that you're going through all of those alternatives. And then, excuse me, it walks through all of the online registration process. That's what I'm going to go through with students. You'll get it and see it, and you can walk through it with them as well. And then you will sign, they will sign, and the advisor will sign on the night that you arrive here, because basically, that is, like I said, your ticket into the high school. Some reminders, we're wrapping up soon. As we go, students, you're going to attend the registration when I come over there, okay? Excuse me. I want you to fill out the registration form completely, put all of your information on it, first and last. You would be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't. Make sure you put your last name on there. You pre-register for all of those things online, and I'll walk students through how to do that, and it's also listed on the back of there. Bring all of these materials with the night of conferences, this being the most important thing that you bring, making sure that you have that. After this, I'm going to send a follow-up message with this video, with a slideshow, with all the information you need. Students come back here in May to tour, and they go through the whole building with our students. So it's not adults, it's other current senior students that walk them through and give them some of that perspective. And we also have kind of a question and answer session with other 9th graders. Orientation, of course, in August, and open house nights. And that brings us to the end. Again, I thank you so much for being here. If you have questions, please stop and find me afterwards. Otherwise, have a great night. Thank you all.
Thank you.